new space race for computer chips. Silicon chips are at the heart of many of the biggest technology stories of our time. Without them, car plants around the world have come to a halt. The technology to make them is now seen by the United States as a key weapon in its trade war with China. And access to the latest and most powerful versions will determine who wins the artificial intelligence race. In this week's Tech Tent podcast, we look at the semiconductor industry and try to answer 5 important questions about chips. What's behind the current shortages? From Ford and General Motors in the US to Honda in the UK and electric car maker NIO in China, major automotive companies have had to cut back production due to a shortage of chips. Why? Well, it seems the pandemic is to blame, continually making every prediction about chip demand look out of date. First, it made demand for gadgets soar as years of digital transformation happened in weeks. We've been talking about working from home and 5G and IoT and the cloud for years. And now suddenly it's a reality, says Jody Shelton, chief executive of the World Semiconductor Association. Meanwhile, sales of new cars fell off a cliff and automotive executives cancelled orders for chips. But then, an unexpected rebound in sales caught them flat-footed, along with their chip suppliers. Jody Shelton says car makers with just-in-time supply chains came up against a semiconductor industry that cannot just quickly turn the tap on or off. They're going to have to learn that that's not really the way it works. These are just not products that are off the shelf. Who is making the best chips? The shortages have made one thing clear. There is no longer just one kind of chip. As demand shifts, so does power in the semiconductor industry. For decades, Intel with its marketing slogan Intel Inside was the only chip maker in the minds of many. But that is no longer the case. Analyst Richard Windsor of Radio Free Mobile says the world has moved on. He outlines 2 trends: the use of chips for data storage and the growing importance of graphics chips, GPUs, which aren't just for making games come to life, but play a vital role in artificial intelligence applications. And he points to new superpowers in this industry, in particular the Taiwanese company TSMC. TSMC is by far the world's #1 manufacturer of cutting-edge silicon chips at this point in time, he explains. It's very different from Intel. What Intel does is it designs the chips, makes its own chips, and then sells those chips. What TSMC does is make chips for other people. And building chip factories or foundries as they are known is a hugely expensive business. Richard Windsor tells us that it can cost as much as $25 billion, £18 billion, to open a new foundry with state-of-the-art equipment. Why do chips play a role in the US-China trade war? As China and the United States battle for supremacy in artificial intelligence, access to equipment that builds the latest AI chips is a key weapon. Dr. Pippa Malmgren, a former advisor to President George Bush, says the stakes are as high as they were in another technological battle. The space race. The new space race at the geopolitical level is for computational power. Who can gather the most data and process that data the fastest? That is why both China and the US, frankly the EU as well, are spending a lot of money on quantum computers, incredibly fast supercomputers. And all of these things require chips, she explains. Taiwan, home of TSMC, is on the front line of this battle. Given its fight to be independent from China, you might think it would do whatever the US wanted. But Dr. Malmgren warns that things are not so simple. Chinese money is heavily invested in Taiwan. And I think, if you were to ask, can you extricate Chinese backing from the Taiwanese economy, the answer is that it would be very difficult. Is Moore's Law over? Since the 1960s, the chip industry has been governed by Moore's Law, which predicts that the capability of computers will double every 2 years as manufacturers cram ever smaller transistors onto the chips. But given that the transistors are now so unimaginably small, can we expect this pattern to continue?